So we all see what's going on in Iran, right? So the ladies are taking off their hijabs. Is that how you say it? I don't even know. I'm culturally ignorant. And so they're standing up against the religious oppression and the oppression of the theocracy that they live under. And I was very curious as to, so the United States, of course, amps this up, the United States press and the government. And so here is Vanessa Beeley, and she has some observations about this. This is very interesting.
British activist and journalist Vanessa Beeley, many thanks for joining us on the programme, Vanessa. It's nice to see you. So what do you think is the motive of the US by expressing support for the Iranian protests like this?
Oh, God. You know, I mean, the United States is so profoundly hypocritical whenever it takes up a human rights issue, a women's rights issue. I mean, in Iran, for example, where were the rights of the women and of the civilians of Iran when the U.S. was supplying chemical weapons to Iraq to be used against Iranian civilians? Where are the rights of the women in Iran when the U.S. is imposing savage economic sanctions on the people of Iran? Where are the rights of women in Syria when the West, the US, the UK cabal is funding terrorist groups that would take women's rights back to the dark ages, to the medieval era in Syria? And you know, this weaponization of human rights is absolutely criminal, because what it effectively is a dismissal of any kind of human rights, because they are weaponized invariably to go to war or to destabilize a target country. This means that the West and the US have absolutely no concern for human rights or women's rights at all.
So I hope you followed that. Let me bring in Jackson Hinkle from The Dive, Jackson the Hair Hinkle. So what she's saying is that the United States, whenever you see the United States claiming to care about the human rights of somebody in another country, of course, that's just propaganda. What they really do is they want to overthrow the government of that country, and they're using human rights as the fake reason to do that. And then, of course, the people who get hurt by that are the people they claim to be helping.
Yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the case of this right here, what they were just talking about, I mean, these Iran protests are a joke. The leader of the Iran protests happens to live in Manhattan. She regularly meets with, you know, top neocon and neoliberal politicians. She has like monthly meetings seemingly with Mike Pompeo, former CIA director who's leading the extradition charge against Julian Assange. The protests, as I'm sure you've talked about and know, it's like they started over the allegation that I believe she was a 22-year-old or 23-year-old individual who was not wearing their hijab properly, was brought into police custody, which is a regular thing that happens in Iran. They have different culture and norms than we have here, obviously, and different laws. And this individual was allegedly beaten to death by the morality police in Iran. Only thing is there's no proof of that. And the medical practitioners and the autopsy experts that examined her body found a litany of health issues that could have led to the complications of the government-reported heart attack that she had while in police custody. So again, it seems like the United States is picking a single instance that they of an alleged crime against humanity that they can make into a mass social movement that will eventually lead to the toppling of a regime they don't like. And the last thing I'll say is today, I saw that the U.S. is in talks with Elon Musk about, after bringing the Starlink system to Ukraine to help the Ukrainian military, because it's done wonders for them in this war. They're now talking about bringing the Starlink system to Iran to make sure that the Iranian protesters continue to have a good flow of access to Western propaganda sources that will, praise them for the good work they're doing against the Iranian regime.
And so she also mentioned, where was the United States concern for the women's rights or the human rights of the women in Syria when you funded the ISIS and Al Qaeda to take over Syria? And if they would have taken it over, they're the most oppressive people to women in the world. And so that was another great point. So this idea that I was very suspicious of these what do you call it? Uprisings or protests in Iran. Not suspicious that the people doing them aren't sincere and that they should be able to oppose that government's oppression, which they should. They should be able to not wear hijabs if they don't want to, but that they were being stoked by the West and the intelligence communities of the West. They were being stoked and funded and pushed at this specific moment because Iran is in cahoots with Syria and Russia, and also supplying now some drones for Russia in Ukraine. And so that's what this is. So that's what this is all about. And now we gotta hate on Iran, and we gotta try to fuck with them because of human rights. It's never because of human rights. And that's what Vanessa's reminding us. And it's because of what they're doing in Ukraine, what they're doing in Syria, what Israel wants to do to Iran. This has nothing to do with us giving a shit about the women in Iran.
Yeah. The protests are not because of the unfortunate death of that young woman. It's because Iran is working to form an OPEC plus alternative with Russia. They're looking to join BRICS. And they're also looking to join the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. That's why there's protests right now.
And who incarcerates more people, Iran or the United States per capita? That would be the United States. That would be the United States. So everybody has their own culture. Our culture is we imprison black and brown people, and if you're poor. That's what we do with our people. That's our own Jim Crow. We got rid of Jim Crow, and we just threw them all in prison, broke up their families, decimated their communities, and turned them into what has happened today. We're the world's largest penal colony. And thanks to Joe Biden and the establishment. The same people who give a shit about women in Iran, being a fucking chump. Hey, we're going to see you in Miami, West Palm Beach, Denver, Palm Springs, Austin, Burbank. That's right. The Saturday after Thanksgiving here in Burbank, and lots of dates in Los Angeles in December. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a link for all our tickets and join our premium program when you go there too.